Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another year of Good Guy Sports. That's right, 2026. Good Guy Sports is back. We took a slight holiday break. Hope everyone listening and watching at home had a great holiday themselves. Whatever holiday you celebrate, Christmas, New Year's, all of the above. On behalf of Good Guy Sports, we hope you had a great break. But uh, as all of our listeners and viewers and gentlemen, I should introduce as well, Jackson Gerke, Mike Roby back with me as well for a big week, really month of football. It might have been a holiday break, but there's no break from the action here in the sports world, gentlemen, is there? As we are deep into the college football and the NFL playoffs. Since the last time we've done a show, we previewed the first round of the CFP, and in between that show and this show, the quarterfinal New Year's bowl games happened, which leads us to today's point as we record here on Thursday, where we have the semifinal Peach Bowl and Fiesta Bowl taking place, where tonight, as we record here on Thursday the 8th, University of Miami is taking on Mississippi in the Fiesta Bowl, and then tomorrow night, Peach Bowl featuring top seed Indiana taking on the Oregon Ducks. Winner of those two games will square off in the national championship in Miami. So lots to play for here. It goes without saying. But obviously, some really interesting matchups in those quarterfinal games. Probably most notably the beatdown of that Indiana gave to the Crimson Tide, really showing the stark difference in the world of college football now, where a team built up like Indiana can really put a team like Alabama, traditional power, in their place. Some great games as well. Georgia being knocked off by Ole Miss, Miami beating Ohio State, and then Oregon beating Texas Tech quite handily. Makes for a pretty tasty matchup. And by that, Jackson, I mean we don't have Alabama, we don't have Georgia, we don't have Ohio State. We got some pretty fresh teams in here. Obviously, these teams are good teams. We're not shocked that some of these teams make it like Indiana, but India is not a traditional college football powerhouse. So, from that angle, Jackson, do you agree with me that this is a really interesting set of four teams, and as well the journey that these teams have been on throughout the year, winning those bowl games? So, are you looking forward to these semifinal matchups, Jackson? Is my question.
Yes, I am, Blake. If you really think about it, Kurt Sinetti, who's a West Virginia guy, who, if you think about it, that he is the coach guru who has who goes after the transfer portal to find quarterback after quarterback in this football factory that he has built up there in Bloomington, and that he has what I would call design. And Francisco Frendoza, who is by far the most special player that they have in their locker room for this team. And I will argue that I think that there are some rumors that we could be that we could. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but they but but there are some rumors out there that Mendoza and Kurtzinetti could follow each other in the pro level um, to the Raiders for possibly their next head
Wow.
coach.
You're
If
all
you
about
can,
these coaching rumors, aren't you? You're a
oh,
little
you better
gossip
believe it.
columnist,
I'm
aren't you,
all
huh?
over it. Yes, and I've heard a lot of that chat on Sports Talk, and I think that Kurtzinetti to the Raiders with Mendoza, I think I might sound now I might sound a little bit crazy on this topic, but I think with Kurt Sinetti, and I don't think it's going to happen by the way, but I think if Kurt Sinetti and Mendoza, um, great team up together in the duos with the Raiders, and I think that would be the great relationship and perfect fit for them in the NFL. I think because you think about it, Mendoza let's think about let's think about it this way. So Mendoza, you give him a year to develop in the pro level, and you think about it, he can give you comparisons to Caleb Williams and Drake May 2.0 is the way I is the way I look at it, and including Jay Daniels too, if you can add in the mix. But I think he's right there with him. Now, as far as the college, focusing but now focusing in on the college ball game tonight. So I think that and so I think to me for Mendoza and Devontae Moore of Oregon, it's going to be a fascinating rematch out there in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, where you have two quarterbacks battling, going at each other, and and um and really and so really Dan Lanning, who is the former coach at Georgia, going back to his home state of the Peach Bowl, that that B.L. Womberger has made a pick in this game that he thinks Oregon is going to get some revenge and rematch this game. But I disagree with him. I think Indiana is going to sweep Oregon from dating back to the game back on October 11th, where they last met up in when this game was last played in Eugene. But this time around, this game is being played in a neutral site down in Atlanta at the Peach Bowl in Mercedes Stadium. That can play a whole different factor in this one. But I still think Indiana is going to win this one slightly. But I think Oregon. I take Oregon to cover the points. But I say
Okay.
Indiana is going to win this game slightly. I would say at least a one score game.
Okay. Since you made your pick for that matchup, Jack, I'll jump to you, Mike,
Uh,
for this. Starting with the Indiana Oregon game that Jack just mentioned. Obviously, you mentioned the two quarterbacks. You mentioned the two coaches. Those are the real showpiece items from this Peach Bowl matchup. But what do you think the key to the game is going to be, and who do you think will ultimately prevail in this one?
well, I think the key is Mendoza. And I think Jack's right. Mendoza is going to be headed to the Raiders, but I'm not sure about Signetti. But that's a topic for a different discussion. Jack was also right when he was talking about the um, the transfer portal. You look at Oregon and Indiana and how they've been able to manage the transport portal, and you look at where they're at in their programs. So this college football has really changed with the transport portal. But that said, I've got Indiana. I think the key is going to be for Indiana to shut down Oregon's running game.
Hmm.
And if they can do that, then I think they have it. Mendoza against Alabama was 14 of 16, 192 yards and three touchdowns. So he had more touchdown passes than he did incompletes.
It's pretty
So
impressive.
you got to figure that the Indiana running game against Alabama kept the Crimson Tide on the bench, offense on the bench. And I think Indiana will end up doing the same thing. It'll be a close game, but I got Indiana going into the finals.
Okay. You picked Indiana as well, right, Jackson?
Yes.
And I think you picked Indiana before the playoff started to be your national champion, right? So you're looking pretty good for that
Yes.
prediction.
Yes.
I think I have to say BL Lamberger's not here, so I'll do it for him. Not so
So
fast.
you're waddling with the Ducks.
If you remember correctly, I just said obviously before the playoff started, Jackson picked Indiana in the national championship. If you remember correctly, check the tape. I picked the Oregon Ducks to win the national championship. I liked their path to the final. Obviously, maybe given how strong Indiana looked, you say the path to the final is doesn't look that good because they have to go through Indiana, but they did avoid the likes of Georgia and Ohio State, who by the way both lost. So maybe this is so unpredictable anyway. What's the point of making a prediction? But I'm still alive with my Oregon prediction, so I have to back that. My favorite color is green. I've always liked Oregon, so I have a soft spot for them, and I think they're playing good football. I think that Texas Tech team is better than a lot of people might be playing that down because of because they're underrating the Big 12. But it was a quality
Yeah.
performance by Oregon.
You think Oregon is going to be hindered by Jordan Davison not being able to play?
It's a loss for sure. Yeah, it's a big loss. I think they have the depth though to cover those holes. I think realistically, it's going to come down to how physical Oregon
Mm.
can be and how much they can disrupt Mendoza. We thought that was going to be the difference in the Rose Bowl. We said, well, Indiana's a good team, but have they really played top level, tough, physical SEC opponents? And they answered that question quite convincingly. Is it a case of perhaps Alabama not being a little bit overrated, the name on the helmet versus the X's and O's, the record, or is it a case of Indiana being underrated the entire season? Personally, I think it's a bit of both. So I think there's no doubt about it. Indiana is a heck of a football team, but I do think Oregon has quite a good squad themselves. So I think this is going to be a really tight game. I think if you look at the line right now, Indiana's here by 3.5, about a field goal favorite. It sounds about right, given probably more Indiana fans, a little bit closer to Atlanta, right? So not a home field advantage per se, but um, they obviously have the momentum going in their favor. But yeah, I've got a feeling about this Oregon team. I think it's gonna be a 1 point victory. I think it's gonna be one of those super tight games that Oregon just gets over the line. But like I said, I wouldn't be shocked either way.
Yeah.
One
Well,
other point.
any event, a Big Ten team will be in the final.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like that was my next point, Mike. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that um, for me is that the next point is that if the SEC doesn't win the national championship and make it to the college football national championship, it is it is going to be a the grace, and it's just going to just really make the South and people just unhappy, and just they're just going to be completely shocked, and it's just not going to be that great. But one point that I forgot to make before we move on is Kurt Snetti is doing great things at Indiana Athletics since the great Bob Knight in basketball did it all these years ago, who happened to be who, by the way, happened to, I don't know if you guys know this, happened to be its longtime rival for all these years ago with our Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski. So remember that for all those sport fans out there.
All right, we're talking about football though.
Okay.
Let's jump to the other college football semifinal game. I just like saying the word football, college football, National Football League. I just like saying the word football. I don't know. Fiesta Bowl tonight, as we record here, January 8th. Not exactly the one people had penciled in here, Mike, is it? If you told me
No.
that Ole Miss and Miami would be playing in January for a spot in the national championship a couple months ago, I would have told you you're crazy. But here we are. This is the world of college football, isn't it? With the way things are going now. But to be fair, it's not like this is like Tulane versus James Madison, is it? Like these are big teams, just not necessarily the teams that we thought would come out, given the bracket. But you have to
Yeah.
give credit, Mike, to Ole Miss beating a powerhouse Georgia, Miami beating a powerhouse Ohio State. I think just kind of goes to show the parity that we have now in college football. For granted, Miami's on the SEC of the Big Ten, but they obviously spend a lot of money on their players, coaches. So I think this is kind of a indication of the leveling of the playing field a little bit, right? With these teams making it this far.
Oh, I think so. I think they should rename this game the Cinderella Bowl because both teams are Cinderellas in a lot of respects.
Hmm.
I mean, Miami a few weeks ago, there was scuttlebutt that they shouldn't even be in the CFP.
I was one of those people. I thought they were undeserving, not playing for a
And
for
then
a
they come
conference
in and
title. Yeah.
you know, they took on Ohio State. And of course, that pick six on a screen pass really helped them. They jumped out 14 to nothing against Ohio State and held on.
Yeah, I mean that Miami defense has been pretty impressive up to this
That
point, haven't they?
defense, and that's to me, that's the key. Offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. Miami is probably what the fourth best defense in the league, or in the nation. Uh, they s- they held Ohio State to 45 yards rushing. That's pretty impressive,
That's pretty dang impressive.
you know.
Very impressive.
And it's you know, but you know, Ole Miss, they Trinidad uh
Chambliss.
Chambliss, for
Shameless.
thank you for his, the quarterback has done a heck of a job for Ole Miss, as well as behind the scenes the coaching issues. And they had even more coaches leave because of the portal opening, transfer portal opening up.
It's a crazy. I mean,
It's nuts.
this game. I mean, like we mentioned, this game kind of epitomizes college football in 2025, 2026, where we have teams that spend a lot on NIL, transfer portal, making
Hmm.
a run, and yet their coaches are being pinched off by other programs that obviously the Kiffin situation we've gone over. We're going to have to retread that, but it's just a very interesting situation, obviously,
Hmm.
with some of the coaches recruiting for LSU while coaching for Ole Miss.
Hmm.
Kind of just epitomizes the state of college football that we're in right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
It's so
does.
weird, Blake. It's so weird. Pete Golden takes over in in his spot, and he just like is in charge of the team. And next thing you know, his offensive coordinator staff, the coaching staff from McKibben still is staying with the team in Ole Miss no matter what happened tonight, and it's crazy. And I just have to say that they should be very proud and happy to be part of the Croman program, even with all the off the field and all that coaching drama that they've been involved with most of the entire the season. And yeah, you got to give them a lot of credit to that for all the hard work that they have put into to this program. And as for the game tonight, man, Miami has a great defense, and so does Carson Beck. He's very athletic, the former Georgia quarterback, going at it tonight, taking the hedges. And if you look at Ole Miss in their last game at the All-State Sugar Bowl, where they were down at halftime in double digits, and yet they still found a way to win the game in large part, thanks in large part because of the Rebels making big plays by one of their playmakers, by their quarterback, and that was really the difference in that game. And really, defense just made big plays, and I think Georgia just couldn't get anything going offensively, and just had some penalties on the Georgia defense, and that was part of the reason why they lost that game. But as for my prediction tonight, I think I'm going to be leaning towards Miami, and they're going to be win this game by at least a one score touchdown. They are going to win this game, and they're going to be playing they're going to be playing in their home stadium, in their home state for the national championship in a few Mondays from now on January 19th, and they will be taking on the Indiana Hoosiers between the former Miami High School recruit quarterback Francisco Mendoza in the national championship. And I think, and that's the matchup I have in my college football bracket.
Mike, who you got?
I've I've got Miami, and I think the
Wow.
key is going to be two keys to the game. Miami's running game. If you look at Ole Miss, for the last three games, Ole Miss has averaged allowing 167 yards rushing. And the Miami defense sacked Texas A&M seven times, and last week they sacked Sayan five times. The Miami defense will get the Chambliss. The Miami rushing game will keep him on the bench for a good part of the game. And Miami wins this one and heads on to face Indiana in the championship.
I am with you. I want to disagree on both. Maybe I should disagree just to be the contrarian, but I like the Canes, and I think Mike made really the most important point. The only point that matters is this: the Canes are playing lights out defense. I think holding Texas A&M to a field goal, holding Ohio State to 14 points is very impressive. Like we have to call a spade here, don't we? Like this Miami team, question marks about how worthy they were of deserving that spot, but they have answered all of those questions quite convincingly. Myself included was saying, why not a team like, give the ACC spot to the team that won the ACC? Obviously, you can question the methodology for how the ACC determines their champion, which they're going to change next year anyway. So, um, but credit to the committee for getting the right team in here. And I think they've proved with their performances they were the right team for that ACC spot. Um, and I think that will continue against Ole Miss. I really do. I think Ole Miss, and we have to. I mean, we should mention as well that game against Georgia, right? I mean, that was a crazy one. The Sugar Bowl, wasn't it? It was a shootout, and you got to give so much credit to Ole Miss for hanging in there, and credit to obviously Mike mentioned Trinidad Chambliss as well. All this whole Ole Miss team, question marks about the coaching situation. These players don't care about the coach situation. They're there to win a football game, right? They're not worried about questions from the media about Lane Kiffin leaving, taking who to LSU. They're here with a chance to play for a national championship. So these players are motivated, obviously, but so much media speculation about the coaching situation. We got a game to play here, don't we? That these players will be in their minds. So I don't think it will be a cakewalk by any means. I think both these games are going to be tight. Um, and but I do have Miami by a field goal. I think the line is Miami by 3 right now. I think that's spot on. I think Miami will just nick this one by a field goal. So I've got Oregon and Miami. You two gentlemen obviously have Indiana versus Miami. So we'll see. I guess we all have Miami playing in their home stadium. We'll talk about that game next week before we preview it, obviously, whatever the matchup ends up being. But yeah, really, really interesting college football playoffs. I think given the variety of teams that we're seeing, um, I think it's made for some pretty fun matchups so far. So before we jump off of the college football, Jackson, just overall, what have you made of the CFP so far, the matchups? Have you been happy with the games and the product that we've seen so far from this year's CFP?
I'm surprised that and shocked actually that we don't that without Ohio State and and uh and Alabama, Georgia, and the big blue blood free of college of the big name brands of college football being left out and just being a bit surprised to crown a new champion and how I feel like it's great for the sport and how I feel like everybody's getting tired of Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, the usual prospects. Well, I got to tell you something. I think that people should realize that Miami and Indiana, um, and Ole Miss are really the new guys of the crop of the sport. So I feel like people just get like tired of those preschools, and I say it's a, and I, people are yeah, there are people out there that are so against it for where the sport is headed, but I say it's a great thing for how we could all use a change and how we get so tired of those teams. And now I feel like how I feel like Miami. Think about this: Miami is going to be playing in its home stadium since USC did it in the Rose Bowl back in 2006 against Vince Young and Texas that year. So it could be headed back that way. But I feel like where college football is headed with the expanded future, the transfer portal, and names, image, and likeness, and where it's becoming a franchise in the college level. Well, whether you like it or not, it's the sport is changing, and I think the future um, has yet to come for where it's headed for the many years to come. But yeah, I do think the college football and its landscape in the NCAA is definitely going to be changing for those many years to come.
Mike, what did you made of this year's CFP? Do you think it's an indication of where the sport is going in the future?
I think there's a lot of parity, and I think that's a good thing for the sports. Um, Transfer portal certainly has changed the landscape. and the schools that learn how to manage the transfer portal are going to be the new the new blue bloods, if you will, and it's good. It certainly makes it very interesting and a lot of fun to watch. Last comment, I just wondered in my head, the SEC teams, do they spend too much time beating each other up so that they're so tired when they get into the playoffs that they're not going too far?
Possibly.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. I think maybe that is a case for the Georgia Alabama that ran out of steam in the quarterfinals. It's certainly a factor. Ole Miss found themselves, easy victory in their first round against Tulane, and then it ended up being a crazy shootout against Georgia. It looked like they were out of that game for a while, and they fought their way back into it. So, um, but yeah, no, I think it really, yeah, I think particularly in college football playoff, the seeding and the bracket matters so much what the committee ends up doing in terms of the matchups, the seeds they decide upon. At least with the NFL, which we'll talk about in a second, there's set ways that this division winner gets this seed and they match up here. Uh, the CFP comes down to what the committee ranks these teams, right? There's no allocation that says the SEC winner has to be a two, like a one seed or a two seed, or the Big Ten winner has to be a three or whatever. Like ultimately, the 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 parts of the bracket these teams are placed at is just completely down to how the committee views them. And so you could argue that the year to year variance in the CFP is going to be pretty high, given, like Mike mentioned, the SEC teams beating up on each other. Possibly that's a little bit less in the Big Ten. Indiana and Ohio State didn't play each other this year. They played Oregon. Indiana did early in the year, as we mentioned. So there's still obviously competitive games all throughout the calendar, but you would argue that the SEC is the most competitive league, top to bottom. So um, it really does like matter how the committee values being in a top ranked conference. And so, you could argue that these some of these matchups come inconveniently for a Georgia or an Ohio State or whatever. Whereas like maybe Texas Tech was a worse team than we thought, and Oregon will cruise their way to the national championship. Whereas a Georgia comes up against an Ole Miss who, if Ole Miss were in the ACC, they would have got like a two seed or whatever. So there still is a lot of variance and unpredictability there, I think, in the seeding and the rankings and the way the bracket plays out that I think will lend for a little bit of chaos, which, like you mentioned, Mike, I think is good for the viewer as well. A bit of parity, a bit of unpredictableness is probably what a lot of neutral fans would want to see. So I think we'll see a lot of that going forward. All right. Well, I think we've covered the college football games. Like you mentioned, we'll do a full preview of the national championship, which is on January 19th before we get there. But we have a lot of NFL news to cover. As I'm sure all of our listeners and viewers have been aware, the NFL regular season has ended, and we are looking forward to our wild card weekend matchups. Before we get to that, though, gosh, gentlemen, there's been a lot of NFL coaching news. There's a lot of vacancies. A lot of coaches have been relieved of their duties, as we say. And let's just jump into some of these vacancies, some of these job openings before we cover the wild card matchups. Probably the biggest one has to be John Harbaugh leaving the Baltimore Ravens. A disappointing season for Baltimore, of course, missing out on the playoffs via a missed field goal against Pittsburgh in that last regular season game. You could argue, I mean, did that game cost John Harbaugh his job? Possibly, but I think maybe as well you have to factor in some of the playoff disappointments that we've seen in the past couple of seasons. But no matter, John Harbaugh has left Baltimore as well. I think just today the news broke that Mike McDaniel has been relieved of his duties for the Miami Dolphins coach. So a big firing there. He's a sought after coach, possibly even a sought after offensive coordinator, given some of his prior history. Of course, the Falcons let go of their coach and GM as well just after that last regular season game, clearing house there. The Browns fired their coach, Kevin Stefanski, who pretty good reputation in terms of what the league thinks of him, given the job that he's done with possibly limited resources there in Cleveland, and a couple other job openings as well, probably that I'm not even
Yeah.
hitting upon. Arizona fired their coach as well.
Titans,
Titan,
Raiders.
Titans, Raiders, of course.
Raiders got rid of Pete Carroll after 1 year.
Jack's trying to get Signetti there, of course, with
Yeah.
Mendoza. Yeah, the Pete Carroll experiment did not
So we,
go according to plan.
so
There,
we
did
got
it?
8 teams, 25% of the NFL looking for new head coaches.
And of course, the New York Football Giants in your NFC East there, Mike, looking for
Hmm.
a new coach as well. Seeing a lot of links with Harbaugh there as well,
Hmm.
given they have that young core of Jackson Dart. So I'll ask you, Mike, what do you think is the most desirable job on the market right now?
Well, let me step back and there's been another news here locally. The Commanders got rid of Kingsley, the offensive coordinator.
Right.
Big
Cliff, King,
blow.
Cliff, Cliff Kingsbury, right?
Kingsbury, yeah, sorry. You're right. Kingsbury's. That big blow. Uh, Being a Commanders fan, I did not like to hear that. Um, he may end up being, it's a good possibility he may end up being the New York Giants head coach.
Really? So you think he goes from a fired OC to a head coach?
Yeah. Well, look at they got Jackson Dart
Uh-huh.
up in the Giants.
Yep.
He likes working with young quarterbacks. I mean, that's what made Jaden Daniels so good last year in his rookie year was having Kingsbury.
You think
So
you think Harbaugh would be a good fit in New York?
I think Harbaugh would be a good fit anywhere he goes.
Right. You have
You
to
know.
say he's probably the most desirable coach on the market
Hmm.
if we're going to turn it that way, right?
Yeah, yeah, and certainly, uh, the Giants with a good young quarterback, but he could be the new coach for the Raiders because the Raiders are end up drafting Mendoza.
Right, right. A bit of a
So,
rebuilding project there.
you know,
Jackson, I'll ask you. I myself was a bit surprised the Ravens end up letting go John Harbaugh. Obviously, he's been there for a while.
18 years.
Sometimes 18 years. Sometimes these things come to a natural end, right? But where do you think he ends up?
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that their owners, Steve, their Oliver, their general manager, from what I can understand, in closed doors, made a very tough decision that he had to make.
Yeah,
Following that tough loss to Pittsburgh, that it was really one of those critical situations to where do we want to keep you coaching or do we want to let you let go let you go and get yourself out of the job or somewhere else. And that was where one of the things that I questioned about that I feel like we don't that we really don't that we still don't really know the answer to from where things go from here. But I can tell you that where I think John Harbaugh should go is one of the teams that I have listed that he should probably go either to the Raiders, well not the Raiders, but I would say my two landing spots that I have my eye on for John Harbaugh is the Ravens and the Falcons. One of those teams, one of those potential landing spots that I would look at. So that's where I would lean towards
Raiders and
for
Falcons. You think because they have young
no,
quarterbacks?
no, Giants and the Falcons. But I
Giants and
say,
Falcons.
but
Okay,
I say, but I say the Giants is a better fit for him
I think I agree. I agree.
because you got those Super Bowl championships. You can help develop Jackson Dart and
Not a bad defense
Scatterboo.
either.
Oh yeah,
Not a terrible defense. They have some high draft picks. So
Now it
I think Harbaugh's a good fit in New York. I think that would be my prediction, personally speaking, of where he
now
ends up.
if I'm the Falcons, Blake, I would
Nick
following
Saban.
well no no
Oh,
no 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 I
sorry.
will not go that route, but But if I'm the Falcons, I would actually lean towards Kurt Kubiak, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. I think would be a perfect fit for him because why? Because he can develop he because he can because he can because he can develop Bijan Robinson and Michael Penix Jr. under center, and he could really help the Falcons team build a winning season. And I think he would be the perfect fit if you're the Falcons. And also you are hiring Matt Ryan as the general manager of the team. I feel like if you're Atlanta, then I think Kurt Snetti. Then I feel like Kurt Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, I think would be your perfect fit for the team if you're Alfred Blake and the Falcons. I think would be a perfect landing spot for him.
Clint Kubiak. Yeah, no, that's a good shout. Yeah, I haven't heard that name mentioned about. I do think Raheem Morris, he was the defensive-minded coach. Usually, when a team moves on from a defensive-minded coach that quickly, it's because they think they need to move in a different direction, and they might bring in a more offensive-minded coach, someone who's currently an OC, like a Clint Kubiak. So, not the worst prediction. I think that's a pretty good shout, actually, Jackson. Um, other job openings. Obviously, Miami, Mike McDaniel. Um, you think maybe he'd be more of an OC candidate than a head coach, possibly? I think he's kind of well regarded as an offensive mind in the league, but not necessarily as a head coach. So he's a name to keep an eye on for possibly a top tier offensive coordinator job that comes up. And some other teams like their offensive coordinator, like Mike's Commanders, Detroit Lions as well, who were a bit disappointed in their OC. Um, but yeah, I think there's plenty of movement to go around. Obviously, the Arizona job up up for grabs, Miami job up for grabs. So there's a lot of movement this offseason so far, probably more so than I think what a lot of people would have expected even.
Real quick before we move on, the Browns, the Cardinals, and Titans are jobs I would not go to if I were a head coach. Something to really keep in mind.
I'd throw in Miami there to be honest as
I
well. To
say
be
Miami, Ravens, Falcons are the teams that I would coach
No, I
that I
would say
would
Miami
coach
is
with.
not a good job.
Well, no,
I think the best jobs right now, Jackson, in my opinion, would be Baltimore by far is the best job. You have Lamar Jackson.
right.
Granted, he had a bad year, but the guy was banged up. He's by far the best quarterback of any of these vacancies. I think Atlanta and New York, you can question. I mean, does Atlanta have the quarterback of the future? Maybe. I mean, Michael Penix is um, showed flashes, but he obviously got hurt. Cousins came in, filled the gaps. Jackson Dart looked strong, a bit banged up, but they have a good young core there in New York, I would say. So I think Baltimore, New York, Atlanta would be pretty desirable jobs. Cleveland, Miami, Tennessee, Arizona, it's a tough rebuild, and I would throw the Raiders in there, although, like you mentioned before, they have the number one overall pick. So that automatically elevates Vegas to probably the top of that not so desirable job pool. So I think that will definitely benefit them in terms of who they're able to attract for that head coach position.
And plus Blake, if you hire Kurt Kurt Kubiak for the Falcons, he can
Clint
develop.
Kubiak.
Well, Clint Kubiak for the Falcons. If he would be a slam dunk hire for the Falcons, and I think that he can help develop Michael Penix Jr. and Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Then I think people in Atlanta and the ATL would be happy for this hire. I can tell you about that right now from my sources. For the people out in the ATL, they would be very happy about this hire. Trust me, they will.
Okay. Okay. He's got his sources, Mike. So you
Yeah, yeah.
gotta respect them. Gotta respect them. Before we move on to the wild card preview, Mike, any last coaching news or notes? Anything you want to get off your chest here?
Yeah, I'd like to see Raheem Morris be the new defensive coordinator for the Commanders.
I think it'd be a great hire.
I think that would be a good fit.
And any wishes for your OC?
Um, yeah, I want Kingsbury back.
No, no, you should get Mike McDaniel from the
Yeah,
Dolphins.
I think he used to coach, and he started in
Yeah,
Washington, I think, before.
yeah, I think he was. Um, that would be fine.
I think that'd be a dream scenario for you. Getting
Yeah,
I think you're in cuckoo land if you think you're getting Raheem Morris and Mike McDaniel as your coordinators, but you
yeah.
gotta dream big, right?
Hey, and as long as we don't have as many injuries, we'll
That's the
be
key.
okay. Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key. All right. Well, let's jump into a little bit of a wild card preview, gentlemen. We got a lot of NFL games taking place this weekend. Probably, similar to the college football quarterfinals. We got some really fun matchups here to look forward to. Just to update everyone as well, the NFC number one seed by our Seattle Seahawks, by the way. Go Hawks. I think we're a good luck charm with our preference for Seattle there. And then the number one seed by in the AFC was the Denver Broncos, of course. So probably not the one seed you would have bet on before the season, right? Which goes to show the parity and you know the changing of the guard, if you will, in the AFC, the NFC. Some of the teams that we would expect to be there, not there. Some of the upstart teams like you mentioned, this season a little bit as well, proving in there. So who knows? We might see a rematch of the Super Bowl from 2015, where the Seahawks won in MetLife Stadium over there in New Jersey, isn't it? So who knows? At the one seeds meet, never that simple though, is it? So let's start with the AFC, where our three matchups. This and let's start with the first game, which will be on the Saturday afternoon with the Bills traveling to Jacksonville, Florida to take on, or sorry, that's Sunday afternoon, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, on the 11th, right? Yeah. Taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is a really interesting matchup. And I want to start with this one for a reason because I think a lot of people are high on the Bills as kind of a sneaky Super Bowl, a stealth Super Bowl team, given they've come close the past couple of years. They've always ran into Patrick Mahomes and have been unable to get over that hump. The Chiefs are nowhere to be found in this AFC playoffs. I'll say that again. The Chiefs are nowhere to be found. Forget about it. Forget about Mahomes, Kelsey, Taylor Swift. Get them out of your head. All right, they're not here this year. Football fans. So and on one instance, you'd say, well, the Bills, they can have a clear path, a clear runway. But I'm telling you, this and Blake Lamberger would back this up as well. These boys from Duval are not messing around. Like this Jaguars team is strong, and so I think the Bills they're slight favorites, 1.5 points. I think that's kind of the respect that Josh Allen is getting there. But Jackson, this Jaguars team is no joke, man. I mean, I think people are sleeping on them, in my opinion.
No, they're not, Blake. And you think about it, the Bills have not won a playoff game on the road. Think about it for a second, because really the last time the Bills have won a playoff game on the road was you have to go all the way back to the 1992 season where they went to the Super Bowl. They have lost every game since, so that's going to be a huge challenge ahead for Josh Allen. And if Josh Allen, you be feeling like, yay, we don't have to play the the Chiefs in the conference.
Not so
But
fast.
but no, but
You
no,
got to
no,
play the
no.
Jaguars
You
from
got to go on.
Duval.
Yeah, yeah. You got. We don't have to play Holmes in the division, but oh, I don't know, Josh. But
Calm
the
down, Josh.
Jaguars have a great defense down there, down in Jacksonville, and it's going to be. And if you think about it, Lancome and those guys have been built something special down there, and it's going to be a huge test for Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, the Bills down there, because they're building a new stadium next year, but down in Jacksonville, where they have the hot tub going with a bunch of fans watching on there in the warm weather down in Duval County, down in Jacksonville, those fans are going to be in it. And if you think about it, the Jaguars have won every single game at home ever since they went on this run during the start of the season. And Trevor Lawrence, and they don't turn the ball over. They have a great defense, and I think the Jaguars are probably going to win this game slightly, but it's going to be a close game either way. I,
You're
I
picking
mean, look,
Jacksonville. Okay.
oh yeah, I think that the Bills are going to cover, but I think the Jaguars. I'm sorry for all you Bills fans listening to our show, but I think the Jaguars are going to break all the Bills Mafia's heart, and those fans down in Duval and Trevor Etienne Jr., his Trevor Lawrence's teammate from Clemson, and Parker Washington, and those guys are going to step it up. Their offense is going to make big plays. They are they are going to get it done, and I think the Jaguars are going to upset the Bills and send them home.
Okay. Let's get
they're
let me get
they're going to they're
let
going
me
to
get
send them. The Jaguars are going to win the game 30-27, and the Bills are going to be going home heading in the offseason.
okay,
The
okay.
Jaguars are going to
I
get
want
it
to
done.
ask now.
They will
I want to ask
they
what
will
Mike's prediction for this
beat the
game is,
Bills.
Jack. Mike, how do you see this one?
Well, the Bills have Josh Allen,
That's a fact.
and that's it. Jaguars are hot right now. Their defense is stepping up. I think they're a sleeper. And their offense, Lawrence isn't turning the ball over. Since they traded for the new wide receiver, Jacob Meyer, who's been a big plus for the Jaguars offense.
Yeah.
Um, I got the Jaguars in this one.
Wow.
The
Wow.
Jaguars will win by at least a touchdown.
Wow. I was pretty high on the Jaguars, and I'm surprised you guys both picked them. So I guess that means no, I'm picking Jaguars. 3-0 Jaguars. We're all on the Jaguars. Jaguars bandwagon. I'm not picking the Jaguars from this game. I'm picking the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. Now we'll see. We'll see.
Well,
Maybe.
Let's not get ahead of
you
ourselves.
All right,
you
all right.
look at the teams in the AFC.
It's
I
open.
mean,
It's open.
it's wide open.
They've already beat the number one seed Broncos in Denver, so why not? Why not? Why not Jacksonville,
there's
Mike?
any of the teams in the AFC. It's not like the NFC. There's not one standout team that I see in the AFC.
100%, 100%.
So
No,
any of them could win.
I'm on Jacksonville as well. I'm on Jacksonville as well.
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Let's jump to the 4-5 matchup, which is the Steelers and Texans. Uh, Obviously, Pittsburgh sneaking into the playoffs, that Sunday night victory against Baltimore you mentioned earlier. Aaron Rodgers getting the job done. To be fair, he's doing his job. He's looking pretty sharp for a man of his age, getting the Pittsburgh Steelers over the line. But they're coming up against a pretty formidable Texans defense, I would say. Probably the best defense in the league. So personally, Mike, I think this game is not going to be close. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to struggle to tie his shoes against this Texas defense. So I'm on Houston here, man.
I agree. Defense wins championships. Texans got probably, I think, the second best defense in the league. I do think
Seattle won.
Seahawks
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a better defense,
fair enough.
but the Texan defense will put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and a 42-year-old's not gonna do well with all that pressure that they're getting.
Hmm.
And Texans offense is just good enough with a strong defense. I don't see this one as being that close. Texans win.
So the Pittsburgh Steelers were lucky enough to get in the playoffs, thanks in large part by they got the break that they were wishing for, and in large part because of the missed field goal that they were all hoping for the fans up in Steel City in Pittsburgh, by Tyler Roop missing the field goal. But if you really think
Tough
about
for the
it,
rookie.
well, if you really wish if you really wish yeah, right. If he had this played back, and if you really change the outcome, think about how things would have changed differently for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. Well, this time around, lucky enough, the Steelers get to play a game for another day, and we're lucky to find, and they were lucky to find themselves in the playoffs. And if you think about it, the Steelers, yes, they did make the playoffs, as they were looking up unsurprisingly, but they haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. So something tells
It's
me
crazy.
if the Steelers don't win this game,
Tomlin out.
then Tomlin might be facing a lot of pressure and on the hot seat.
I don't know. He won the
Maybe
division though.
well, yeah, but if he doesn't take a coaching job, who knows? Maybe he can take a job on TV, cover as a cover analyst covering the game and the league. So that could be something that he should be really thinking about. But as far as the game goes, I don't know. This game could go either way, but I would love to see Pittsburgh snap the playoff winning streak. But I don't know if I see that happening. But I don't know. The Texans defense might be too much to handle for Aaron Rodgers in this one.
So you're on Houston then?
Yeah.
Okay, we're all on Houston then. I think that's, fair enough. We'll see. It's down to Aaron Rodgers to prove us wrong, Mike, right? So let's jump now to the last AFC matchup. I think this is a pretty interesting one. The LA Chargers traveling across the country to Foxborough to take on the two-seed Patriots. No, this is not Tom Brady's Patriots. This is Drake May's Patriots. A new era in New England, Jackson, isn't it? With
It is,
these
Blake.
upstart Patriots taking on their first home playoff game since 2019. And you have to say, New England is coming into this with a lot of confidence. I think the knock on them is possibly the light schedule. Have they played tough opponents this season? Well, we're going to find out in the playoffs, aren't we? This is where your bones are made. And the Chargers, they've been banged up all year. They're limping into the playoffs, but they have the experience of Justin Herbert. They have some veteran experience in the receiving core on defense. Granted, they're not a team necessarily you'd say has been there and done that, but they have more experience than a lot of these Patriots. Um, I think this is a really interesting game. I honestly don't know who I'm leaning towards right now. Patriots are about a field goal, 3.5 points favorite right now, probably, due to the home field advantage, right? The Chargers traveling cross country. Gosh, I think I lean Patriots in this one, just given sort of that stability that Mike Vrabel has brought to the team. Drake May looks to be the real deal. The fans will be into it. It's a night game as well. So I go slight Patriots here, Mike. I don't feel great about it, but what do you think?
I no doubter. Patriots will win in the cold.
And by the way,
Um,
yeah. And by the way, Mike, it's going to be snowing up there
yeah.
95% on kickoff.
Yeah, I'm just more concerned with the Chargers beat up, injured offensive line. I think that's gonna hurt them. And the Patriots gonna be getting Milton Williams, their defensive tackle back, which is going to be a big boost. And Drake May has been playing playing really well. He's had a good season. Um, I think the Pats are back. Pats win this one by 5.
You
I
agree,
agree.
Jackson? Yeah.
I do. Drake May is similar to Jaden Daniels. You were like this, Mike, that he's very similar to Jaden Daniels of last season. He is that kind of quarterback.
Mhm.
He's like the AFC version of it, and he's exactly that. And I am with Mike. I think the Patriots will win by at least 6 points in this one. The Chargers are not built for built weather. They are like a warm weather team. They're used to playing indoors, but they're not built for like outdoor stadiums and stuff. And Justin Herbert, yeah, they beat some teams this season. The Chargers did beat some teams earlier this season with some wins earlier against the Eagles, Chiefs, Vikings, and Steelers,
But they also lost
and
to some teams like the Commanders.
well,
Right.
that's true. But that was before the Commanders game. They were like on a winning streak, and they were like on a run by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, things have changed since then. But yeah, I'm with Mike. I'm sticking with the Patriots in this one.
Okay, so we're all on New England then. So we've got we're all consensus pick Houston, New England, uh and Jacksonville as well. So what could go wrong with our AFC predictions, huh? If we're all so confident. All right, let's jump now to the NFC. Some interesting matchups here for sure. I think I want to start with the game taking place here. By here, I mean North Carolina, on Saturday afternoon, I believe that is right, with the Panthers hosting the Los Angeles Rams, who the Panthers obviously snuck into the playoff with that victory against Tampa in that rainy game on Saturday. A bit of a, not a game that's going to be shown on classic TV anytime soon, is it? But they got the job done.
Mm-mm.
You got to give credit to the NFC South champions, of course. Playoff appearance, their first in quite a while, I believe, as well for the for Carolina, isn't it? So, um, credit there, but you have to say they're fortunate to make the playoffs. And this Rams team is a heavy favorite in Carolina for a reason. So, I'm sorry to all my North Carolinians, brethren listening. Um, but I got to go Rams here, Mike. I doubt you
Yeah.
disagree with me there, will you?
Well, not so fast.
Oh, Jackson. Here we
Oh,
go.
you know, I agree. I mean, this is a wild pick, but in all homage to BL, who's not able to join us tonight, I gotta pick the long shot. I think Cam Newton will show up at the stadium and be the drum major and start beating that drum that they beat down there in Charlotte. And the Panthers will come back victorious. Bryce Young will not turn the ball over. The Rams had probably got the best offense in the league. Just think if a team had Seattle's defense and the Rams offense, that team hands down would win the Super Bowl. So the Rams offense is elite, but their defense struggled in the last 4 weeks of the season. They struggled against both, the Panthers, Seahawks, Lions, and Falcons. Particularly the Panthers and the Falcons that they struggled with. So this is my uh, this is my big upset of the playoffs. There's got to be some upset somewhere, and this is going to be it. Panthers win by 3.
That's quite the prediction, Jackson. What do you think of that, and who do you have in this one?
I don't think it's gonna. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one, Mike. But I think the Rams are getting back Devontae Adams in their lineup, so I think they're. So I think with him, they are probably going to be hard to beat. So I'm taking the Rams to win this game.
All right. Well, Mike has made his bold prediction, his upset pick of the week, if you will. So he will look like quite the Nostradamus here if he calls that one. Let's jump to the Saturday night game, which is a very interesting game. The oldest rivalry in the NFL, you have to say, an NFC North playoff matchup. I remember one of these back in the Jay Cutler, Aaron Rodgers days. I think these teams met in the playoffs as well. Bears Packers, a rivalry game in Chicago, Soldier Field, Saturday night. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rocking. And you have to say the Bears have a lot of momentum going their way. The Packers kind of getting over the line in terms of the way they finished their season. But this Bears team, new coach Ben Johnson, new-ish second-year quarterback Caleb Williams. They had a great year. They put things together, but they're not proven in the playoffs. And we've seen this before where experienced teams with more experience, i.e., a Green Bay, comes in and kind of asserts some of that playoff experience. And a team like the Bears kind of have to learn that lesson. So, with all that being said, I have to lean Packers here. I think for the reasons that I just mentioned, Mike. Feel free to call me crazy, but
It's not crazy. The crazy is the Bears, because it's just fun to say the Bears.
You're not wrong.
shout out to Mike Ditka, who is who is listening to us right now.
He
Which
is?
I hope he is. Well, I would hope so,
I didn't know that.
but I want to get a shout out to him, which I hope he's
Hi,
listening to our
Mike.
show. I'm Mike Ditka at the Bears. So anyway, so
Wait,
for
wait,
sure,
wait. Well, Mike didn't give his prediction yet, though, Jack.
well,
Yeah,
right.
so I think the key is going to be turnovers. Uh, if the Packers turn the ball over, then the Bears will win. Packers are going to be out without one of their big wide receivers. Tucker Kraft is going to be out. Um, the Bears are wide receivers are getting healthy now for Williams to throw to. Yes, the Bears defense is a little suspect, but playing at Soldier Field, the Bears win in the Windy City.
Okay. So I'm on Green Bay. Mike's on Chicago. Jackson,
I,
split the difference here.
I am also leading. I am also on the Chicago Bears. Think about it for a second. So they went on this run and they were on a and they started a winning streak. It all started in the rain. This in the rain against Uncle Mike Commanders by a ugly game winning field goal where they got revenge from last season from the from the Hail Murray side of things for where they lost on it on the last play from last season. Well, this time around, the Chicago Bears did the complete opposite. They beat Uncle Mike's Commanders. They beat they went on a run. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Giants. They beat the Browns. They lost the Packers at the Packers at Lambeau, but they got revenge and beat the Packers at home at Soldier Field, and they lost in a hard fought close battle at the 49ers at Levi Stadium. That was a very close, hard fought game right there, and then they lost in a close, tight field goal by the Lions at the end of the season at Week 18. So I think things are looking great for the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. If you watched his highlights or watched him on film, then he is he played high school just not far from where Uncle Mike resides in the Washington D.C. area, and he played his college ball at USC. He played at Oklahoma prior to that too, and Oklahoma State too, to name a few schools they trimmed to during his college career. But when I think of Caleb Williams, he is this year's version of Jaden Daniels, and he is this year's version of Jaden Daniels of the 2025 season. So he is that kind of quarterback. Because you think about it, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, the Caleb Williams, they were all in the same draft class together. And if you really think about it, yeah, Jaden Daniels had a down year this year, but Drake May and Caleb Williams and in that quarterback draft class, they are just
They're playing well. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Those teams are, yeah, exactly. Those teams are playing well so far, heading to the
Okay.
playoffs,
So
and
you've got Chicago then,
yes,
yeah. So
Chicago
okay.
will win,
So
and
Jackson's on Chicago, Mike's on Chicago, I'm on Green Bay. Let's now jump to the last NFC matchup. The Philadelphia Eagles, defending Super Bowl champions, hosting the 49ers. The 49ers hopes at getting a not only a NFC West crown, but possibly even a bye were dashed by the Seattle Seahawks and their tight defense, holding them in that game on Saturday night. Great victory for the Seahawks, gave them the number one seed, meaning the 49ers traveling to Philadelphia cross country in the cold. Not what they wanted to do, but this is what you have to do in the NFL if you want to win in the playoffs. Go to these tough spots. I think the 49ers are a little bit too banged up and a little bit too, let's just say, um, they're definitely open to they have some holes that can be picked apart, I think, by this Eagles team. Granted, who themselves have not played the best football, but they were able to rest against Mike's Commanders last week in the regular season. So I've got the Eagles grinding out this game. Mike, what do you think?
Niners.
Oh, of course he's picking against the Eagles.
Oh, how could you, being a burgundy and gold Washington fan? And I get it because the Eagles resting all their
Let's let him
starters.
give his prediction, Jackson. Let's let him Mike,
Okay,
why are you picking
I
sorry.
the Niners?
I think it's the Eagles offense. Eagles offense has been not playing like they did last year, and they haven't been playing real good sharp ball this year. Their big right tackle may or may not play, and I think that's gonna hurt them. The Eagles defense, their secondary has strengthened and playing well, but I think the 49ers are going to come into the city of brotherly love and win by 4 points.
Okay, okay. So we're split there, Jackson. Why don't
Not
you?
so fast, Mike
There
Roby.
we go.
The Eagles are 5-0 all time at home in the playoffs, whether you like it or not. Yeah, your Birdie Golden um, Commanders won in South Philly last week in large part because the Philadelphia Eagles starters were resting in that Week 18 matchup, and the Commanders went into South Philly at the link and beat our Birds. But I do think the Eagles will bounce back from that loss, and I think Nick Sirianni's game plan will get Saquon Barkley the ball. The Eagles defense will, yeah, the Eagles have some questionable playmakers. Fred Warner is placed on IR. Trent Williams, George Kittle, and Ricky Parcell, and defensive end by George Gross. My country's the 49ers defense is banged up, like you said, Blake. But I would expect that Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and all of those Eagles playmakers will get the win in South Philly, Philadelphia. They will bounce back from that loss in Week 18. They are they are going to win the game, and um and I think and then I think the Eagles, the Eagles chant will be happening in South Philly, and they will get the win. They will beat the 49ers. The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan is going to have to deal with a tough environment and going to be taking in the hostile environment, taking the crowd out of it. 49ers lost to our Seahawks in Week 18. Now they have to go to South Philly on the road in a playoff game. It's not going to be easy. It's not even going to be a getting win. Chris McCaffrey's going to have a hard time running the ball in that weather and environment in that environment out there in the link in South Philly. And so I think the Philadelphia offense is going to make big plays. They are going to draw flags on the pass interference defense on the 49ers, and that's going to be the difference of the game. And that's how the Eagles are going to win, and how I see it. And then I think and then I think all those AJ Brown and all those Will Shipley and their rookie players will definitely step up. Dallas Goedert will make big plays, and so too will Jordan Davis, and so too will Jordan Davis and Jordan McElroy from the Australian rugby football player, and hope that Mary Ellen is listening to us, that they can make the NFL proud by him, which we all will. And so I think, I think if you remember that the Philadelphia Eagles were on this run last year, and so and so and so I think for Philadelphia that they will get the win, and they were and if you remember the Eagles were like one of the top seeds. Were actually the top seeds last year in the playoffs last year, and they made a run to the Super Bowl. but I definitely would not rule out the Eagles to make another run at it for the Robari Trophy, and I do think that with the special playmakers that they have for the Eagles and for what they have and with all the playmakers for what they do, and I think that, and yes, I think the Eagles they made big plays for their players on their birthday and so yeah, I think Philadelphia will be winning this game very easily with Tanks Bisbee and those guys, and so yes, I think that Philadelphia in South Philly, those fans are going to go crazy, and those fans love to boo Santa Claus and cuss and all the stuff that they like to do up there. And I mean, what do you expect? It's Philadelphia. People do whatever they want. And that's just how they're, and that's just how those people are like in that part of the Northeast. Much
They're
like in New York
passionate.
and Boston, very exactly. Those fans are coming from a blue collar, passionate fan base up there for those fans up there, and that's really what this is of how special it is. And I think that Philadelphia will be getting the win, and they had playmakers on the Super Bowl. I would expect them to make another run at it, and I think Philadelphia will do just that. Eagles are going to win the football game.
Okay, there you have it. There you have it. We're split on some of these NFC. I think with the NFC, we're a little bit more split on than the AFC in terms of our original picks here. But let's see. It's going to be a really interesting matchup, NFL playoffs this season, isn't it? We've got some really great matchups to look forward to, and we will update you as they progress along throughout the month leading up to Super Bowl in Santa Clara, California on February 8th. So a month from today, isn't it? So lots to look forward to here on Good Guy Sports. Jackson, thank you very much. Mike Roby, thank you very much. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers for sticking with us, and stay tuned for a very action-packed 2026 from Good Guy Sports. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mike.